Triads, a term used to describe Chinese organized crime syndicates active in Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan, mainland China, and other countries with significant Chinese populations, have been the subject of thousands of films, both big and small. The Triads not only pique curiosity, but are also a source of fear for both citizens and law enforcement agencies around the world. This secret society, composed of numerous criminal gangs, draws attention due to its secrecy and its vast, large-scale criminal activities across the globe. Unlike the mystique of the Illuminati or the shadowy, manipulative control of the Freemasons, Triad gangs directly suppress and rule their territories through the fear of the people. The Chinese Triads have truly challenged the Italian Mafia's once uncontested dominance in the criminal underworld. Many nations have even found themselves completely helpless in their efforts to stop this force. All the dark corners of the most notorious criminal organization in history that we will discuss will be in this video. The Triads and the expansion of power. As always, before diving into the full story, please consider hitting the like button to support ADB Crime Case. Don't forget to subscribe to get notified about our latest investigations. Now let's begin. When you search for any information about the Triads, one fact is certain to be repeated, making it impossible to forget. The Triads are the largest criminal organization in the world. According to statistics and estimates, the Triads have a membership of around 1.5 million in mainland China and about 2.5 million members worldwide, rivaling the number of soldiers in the Chinese military, the world's largest army today. This is understandable, as the organization is a collection of tens, even hundreds, of criminal gangs from every place where Chinese people live. But to reach such numbers, the Triads have undergone hundreds of years of formation, development, expansion of influence, and fiercely brutal power struggles. So how was this organization formed? The story seems to begin a long time ago, during the reign of the Kangxi Emperor, the second emperor of the Qing Dynasty. Secret societies and religious organizations like Buddhism and Taoism were classified as outlaw groups, and their establishments were continuously suppressed and shut down. At that time, dissatisfied with the Qing court, Han Chinese monks at the Shaolin Temple formed a resistance movement against the dynasty. However, the Qing emperor's crackdown forced these Chinese secret societies to go underground rather than be completely eradicated. Nevertheless, some resistance movements were brutally suppressed. The resistance at the Shaolin Temple was discovered and met with a horrific punishment. The Manchu Qing court ordered the burning of the Shaolin Temple, resulting in the deaths of many Han monks. According to legend, some were lucky enough to escape. 5 survivors went on to establish the Triads, initially known as the Tiandihui, Heaven and Earth Society, or the Hongmen, depending on the historical account. This society was associated with the color red and the name Hong, partly from the Hongwu Emperor's era name when the Ming Dynasty was founded, and also the name of one of its founders, the monk Fang de Hong. Some even say that one of the 5 founders of the Triads was Ji Shim Sin Si, a master to the 5 elders of the southern Chinese kung fu styles. However, due to its spontaneous and unorganized methods of struggle, it was quickly crushed. This leads to a significant contradiction. We know the society was initially formed with the sole purpose of overthrowing the Qing and restoring Han Chinese rule, with no connection to criminal activities. So why did it later become the most infamous criminal organization in history? The turning point was this. During the Xinhai Revolution of 1911, the Qing Dynasty collapsed. The Triads lost their sense of purpose because their true enemy was no more. The Qing had fallen, just as they had wished. However, the Ming Dynasty could not be restored. The Chinese people followed a new government. The Triads lost immense support, both material and spiritual. They fell into chaos, unable to keep up with the country's development. Over 200 years of struggle and hardship had become meaningless. Unable to restore the Ming, they were seen as rebels. Most members had to flee, migrating to other countries, mainly in Southeast Asia. Yet the structure and organization of the society remained intact. However, with their original purpose gone, the organization gradually transformed into a collection of criminal gangs operating in many regions. In its early days of transformation, the Triads primarily appeared in the North, East, and West River areas of Guangdong Province. Members gradually turned their bodies into living zoos, tattooed with all sorts of rare animals. They also tattooed images of Guan Yu and swords. After engaging in petty crimes and reaping enormous profits, they continuously recruited new members and perfected their organizational structure. Over time, with strong financial resources and a relatively broad network of control, the Triads successfully built a sophisticated operational system and a well-defined hierarchy of members. Many people are still curious. How does one become a member of such a criminal organization? And what are the membership levels like? True to their secretive nature, new members of the Triads must undergo a distinctive initiation ceremony. This ritual takes place before an altar shrouded in incense smoke, not unlike the brotherhood ceremonies in period dramas. The initiate must sacrifice a domestic animal, such as a chicken, pig, or goat. After drinking wine mixed with blood, the prospective member walks under an arch of swords while reciting the society's oath. The oath consists of 36 extremely complex clauses, concluding with the line, "If I, as a future member of this organization, break this oath, I will die under a rain of swords." The paper with the oath is then burned at the altar to confirm the new member's duties. Signifying the society's name, the candidate will also raise 3 fingers of their left hand as a secret and binding gesture. For those who do not abide by the oath, the consequence is inevitably death in various forms. Triad members in Hong Kong prefer to use bladed weapons to deal with fellow members who violate the oath, while Triad groups abroad might use firearms. Regarding the organizational structure, the leader during the Tiandihui era was called the Grand Master. Below the Grand Master were the 5 front lodges and 5 rear lodges, each responsible for overseeing the activities of members in different territories, as assigned by the Grand Master. The front lodges handled diplomacy and finance. Within them, an action unit was tasked with assassinating Manchu officials and ambushing convoys carrying weapons and supplies for the imperial court to eliminate soldiers and seize assets. The rear lodges were responsible for communications, recruiting new members, and disseminating the policies of the Tiandihui to its various branches, known as altars. These altars were led by masters and deputy masters, who oversaw the activities of their members. Under them was a relatively well-organized and tight-knit support staff, handling important tasks such as organizing activities, advising the masters, communicating with members and superiors, and inducting new recruits. However, according to many records, after evolving into the Triads, individual gangs gained significant autonomy. Gangs within the same society would even fight over territory and treat each other as enemies. Lower-ranking members in this hierarchy had more freedom of operation compared to many other criminal organizations worldwide. The gang's activities were rarely directed by high-level leaders. Members did not need to seek permission from the top before engaging in any criminal act. Thanks to their large numbers and the chaos of the early 20th century, the Triads quickly became a criminal organization active in every sector in mainland China. Although not as powerful as they once were, the Triads remain a force to be reckoned with. They control arms trafficking, prostitution, kidnapping, illegal immigration, extortion, counterfeiting, loan sharking, and protection rackets for casinos. Everything changed after 1949 when the new government took power. Under intense suppression, most of the remaining members had to migrate to Hong Kong, which then became the organization's strongest base of operations, with about 50 gangs of various sizes and at least 80,000 members. At its peak, the number could have reached 300,000. You have probably heard about how Hong Kong's economy boomed in the 1990s. Along with that growth, the Triads extended their powerful arms to embrace every profitable sector. All these seemingly brazen and ostentatious activities were, in fact, incredibly secret. The police knew about the organization and had information on it, but they could never find enough evidence to conduct raids and root it out completely. To outsiders, almost no important information was ever leaked. Dozens of gangs belonging to the society divided their territories based on ethnic groups, with each gang responsible for a specific area and having its own headquarters. Today, there are 7 major gangs that are consistently on the radar of the Hong Kong and Macau police. These names include Wo Hop Tu, Wo Shing Wo, Sun Yee On, Shui Fong, Wo Xing Yi, and 14K. Among these 7 names, 4 have formed the legendary 4 Great Gangs, becoming the terror of Hong Kong citizens in the 20th century. These main gangs represent the power and fearfulness of the Triads, not only in their areas of operation, but also worldwide. Each name just mentioned is a piece of the puzzle that helps us complete the overall picture of the power and dark secrets behind the Triads. But where should we begin? Perhaps the most fitting starting point is Wo Hop Tu, the gang with the longest history among the 7 major names. Established in the late 19th and early 20th centuries and operating in the heart of Hong Kong, Wo Hop Tu was nominally a secret political organization opposing the Qing government before the Xinhai Revolution. Its subsequent transformation was identical to the evolution from the Tiandihui into the Triads that we discussed. After getting involved in criminal activities, Wo Hop Tu amassed enormous revenues from running protection rackets at fish markets and some commercial ferry piers. The gang maintained a membership of around 50,000, involved in any job that could make money. During their peak, among the 4 great gangs of Hong Kong, Wo Hop Tu and 14K which we will discuss later, were the two key syndicates with the largest share of territory. With a virtually monopolistic position in Hong Kong, Wo Hop II members lived comfortably outside the law. In many incidents, the gang openly surrounded and challenged the police, leaving Hong Kong's security forces powerless. However, their achievements at home in Hong Kong do not tell the whole story of Wo Hop II's true power. As one of the most senior gangs in the Triads, Wo Hop II played a major role in extending the society's tentacles to the United States. Indeed, U.S. police files indicate that the Wo Hop II gang sent a high-ranking Triad boss named Trang Bin Quang, also known as Peter Chong, from Hong Kong to the U.S. in 1982 to take over the lucrative Underworld territory in San Francisco's Chinatown. Outwardly, Chong's purpose in coming to the U.S. was to establish a Chinese opera company, but U.S. investigative documents reveal a completely different story. Under the name Peter Chong, he was the mastermind behind the Wo Hop II criminal gang in Northern California. There, members of this gang engaged in numerous illegal activities, most notably gambling and extortion. They were extremely aggressive, controlling street activities through threats and the use of force. Wo Hop II members ate for free at any restaurant in Chinatown because no one dared to resist. Under Chong's leadership, the Wo Hop II gang began to expand and absorb smaller Chinese gangs in the U.S. Before his arrest and conviction in 2000, Chong successfully elevated the organization's reputation to a new level. San Francisco was no longer just home to Italian mafiosos. It was now also under the control of the Triads. With a history nearly as long as Wo Hop II's is the gang named Shing Wo. Unlike most other gangs, this group was founded in the Sham Shui Po area of Hong Kong in 1930, originally to protect laborers' interests. During World War II, Shing Wo assisted the invaders in killing many Chinese citizens with its assassin squad, known as Team 49. Due to political turmoil, many Chinese fled the mainland for Hong Kong, causing Shing Wo's membership to swell from 5,000 to 70,000 by 1950. In 1989, Shing Wo gained media attention after a terrorist attack on the Indonesian coast near the South China Sea. As the British administration prepared to hand Hong Kong back to China, the gang was forced to reorganize internally to prepare for darker purposes on the mainland. They began smuggling contraband into nightclubs and bars using sophisticated tricks and ruthless business tactics, particularly a willingness to eliminate competitors. On several occasions, Shing Wo members were attacked by rivals, leading to incredibly bloody shootouts. With an already extensive network, Shing Wo also extended its dark influence to other countries and territories. Mainland China, Japan, Thailand, and even Australia have a presence of the gang's members. Shing Wo members have significantly contributed to the rise in crime rates in London's Chinatown. Furthermore, Shing Wo has ties to famous Hong Kong politicians and businessmen who are suspected of supporting and tacitly aiding the gang. It's clear that Shing Wo's strength lies not just in its criminal activities, but in its widespread international influence and its connections with the ruling class. The good relationships Shing Wo has cultivated with many politicians have been well maintained to this day. This may sound unbelievable, as the Hong Kong police have always been dedicated to cracking down on and eliminating Triad gangs. We also mentioned how these gangs had to flee abroad to escape suppression. How could one of the four great gangs have good relations with politicians? Could this be true? The following man provides the answer. This is the leader of the Shing Wo gang in the 2010s, commonly known by the nickname Shanghai Boy. In March 2012, Shanghai Boy became famous after revelations that he attended a dinner with Hong Kong chief executive candidate Leung Chun-ying. The Singtao Daily further reported that key campaign advisors for Mr. Leung also attended the dinner at a Lao Fao Shan restaurant to lobby for him. About 10 members of the election committee, the body with the power to select the chief executive, were present at the lavish banquet. Given his personal power and financial resources, I don't think his presence was a coincidence. Clearly, this single incident is enough to show the extent of Shing Wo's influence in Hong Kong. What could be more fearsome than a gang that has financial power, a notorious reputation in the underworld, and also maintains good relationships with the political elite? And if we're talking about the four great gangs, it would be a major omission not to mention Sun Yee On. When it was first established, Sun Yee On operated in the Chu Chao Teochew community. In addition to its covert operations in Hong Kong, intelligence reports since 1994 suggest that the Sun Yee On gang appeared to have a very strong influence over the Guangdong provincial government. At one point, the gang's cronies even managed to infiltrate and hold various positions within the government. But most notably, Sun Yee On has consistently been the most powerful triad gang in the world. Its main areas of operation are similar to the other two gangs we've discussed, including counterfeiting, gambling, human smuggling, prostitution, trafficking, and extortion. In Europe and the US, the gang operates primarily through the Teochew Chinese community. Despite being the largest triad gang, Sun Yee On's turf is fiercely contested by other syndicates, and it often suffers losses, but its power has never been underestimated. If Shing Wo's influence is demonstrated through its political connections, Sun Yee On shows absolute control over the entertainment industry, specifically Hong Kong cinema. The man you are looking at is Charles Hung, born in 1948 in Guangdong, China, the 10th son of the godfather Hung Chin, the founder of the Sun Yee On gang. Charles Hung's father was a major general in the Kuomintang. In the 1940s, during the Chinese Civil War, the Hung family fled to Hong Kong and expanded the Sun Yee On gang's operations under the guise of the Yee On Company. The Hung family holds immense power in Hong Kong. Everyone knows the level of their influence. In 1950, the patriarch Hung Chin was deported from Hong Kong and had to flee to Taiwan. The gang's operations were handed over to his sons Hung Hwa Yim and Hung Hwa Bor. This was when Charles Hung began to gain influence within the gang and gradually prove his role. After a period of power struggles, he finally succeeded in securing the most powerful seat. In 1992, the U.S. Senate identified Charles Hung as a high-ranking office-bearer in Sun Yee On, an especially dangerous individual to be monitored. However, there was very little evidence for law enforcement to bring the truth to light. Each of the godfather Hung Chin's sons built their own separate careers as a cover to show the outside world that they were not involved in the activities of the Sun Yee On gang or the Triad criminal organization. As a young man, Charles Hung was an action movie actor and later invested heavily in Hong Kong's entertainment industry, founding the film company Wins Entertainment. In an interview, Charles Hung said he named the company Wins because, to him, every movie is like a battle. Wins Entertainment had a massive influence on the Hong Kong entertainment industry. Nearly every Chinese martial arts star, with the exception of Jackie Chan, has starred in a Wins Entertainment film at least once. Charles Hung's company provided a safe haven for many actors, including the notable Jet Li. In 1992, after his manager was assassinated, Jet Li exclusively made films for Charles Hung's company. Jet Li once admitted that Hung was the type of filmmaker who spared no expense, wanting only the best possible results for his films. This further fueled suspicions that filmmaking was a way for Charles Hung to launder money earned from the Sun Yee On gang. In 2018, Charles Hung's 70th birthday party brought together a host of top movie stars in Hong Kong. Furthermore, a famous conspiracy theory circulates, suggesting that the largest Triad gang was involved in the death of Bruce Lee. In Bruce Lee's biography, there are a few details that have raised suspicion. The official cause of his death was announced as acute cerebral edema, but the circumstances of his life have given rise to many theories. According to some sources, at the age of 18, Bruce Lee had a confrontation with 3 Triad members in Hong Kong. With his superior martial arts skills, he sent 2 of them to the hospital for a long time. This act reportedly enraged a Triad boss. Fortunately, that same day, Bruce Lee's parents decided to return to San Francisco, so he temporarily escaped danger. Of course, against such a powerful force, Bruce Lee couldn't hide forever. Rumor has it that the Triads sent someone to negotiate with him, demanding that he accept their members into his martial arts school in exchange for financial support to pursue his dreams. The truth of this arrangement is unknown, but shortly after, Bruce Lee produced several major films with very high budgets that made a huge impact. Specifically, his studio, Golden Harvest, received investments from many large corporations, many of which were suspected of being owned by the Triads. When he became truly famous and a global martial arts icon, Bruce Lee showed signs of wanting to break free from the underworld's grip. For this reason, many believe in the conspiracy theory that this action was the cause of his death. If this story were true, perhaps no one would dare to question the power of Sun Yee On. Among the 4 great gangs, the last one we haven't mentioned is 14K. Although it holds considerable power, there is far less information available about this gang compared to the other 3. The organization originally had 14 members, all from the Kuomintang, hence the name 14K. According to police investigations from various countries, the 14K gang has long been involved in drug trafficking in China and Southeast Asian countries, which is its main source of income. Besides that, 14K members are involved in numerous criminal activities, such as illegal gambling, money laundering, arms trafficking, protection rackets, human trafficking, extortion, counterfeiting, and robbery. Compared to other Triad gangs, 14K is one of the largest and most violent in Hong Kong, but it seems its members are loosely affiliated. Internal factional violence within 14K often spirals out of control because no single leader is capable of uniting and leading all of 14K's factions worldwide. To deal with law enforcement after its underground activities were exposed, 14K drastically reduced its public activities and retreated into even greater secrecy. Like a multi-headed hydra, when law enforcement cuts off one head, 14K grows another. Therefore, the fight against organized crime gangs in Hong Kong, including 14K, will be a long and arduous one. The four great gangs we've discussed have truly created a complex and overlapping underworld that is impossible to fully dissect. Despite hundreds of years of ups and downs, the name Triad is likely etched into the minds of many Hong Kong residents. Today, with more decisive action from law enforcement agencies, it is rare to see criminal organizations emerge and cause shocking incidents like those in the mid to late 20th century. So, are the once mighty triads still powerful? Although the triads are no longer as rampant as before, it is believed that the gangs still operate strongly in many casinos and popular entertainment venues. Many experts have pointed out that the triads are still present in Macau, Hong Kong, and most Chinatowns around the world. However, the situation has changed somewhat. The evolution of organized crime in Asia will undoubtedly have a profound impact on the region's security. The era of gangsters from Hong Kong and Taiwan with guns tucked in their belts and scarred faces is long gone. A new generation of criminals, disguised as businessmen in expensive suits, is emerging in greater numbers. After Charles Hung, no one can be sure if, behind the glamorous facade of showbiz or the fierce political arena, there isn't an age-old power still pulling the strings from the shadows. Since the early years of the 21st century, governments around the world have identified the triads as the most dangerous criminal organization. The illicit activities of this syndicate have not only failed to be eradicated over time, but have grown to span the entire globe. So the question is, what can be done? The answer to this may never be found. Like yin and yang, order will always coexist with chaos. This world can neither achieve supreme order nor exist in absolute chaos. When the Hong Kong government began to realize the rampant expansion and corruption of the triads and their negative impact on society, they were unable to wipe out the organization. The police force was spread thin, and a corrupt faction even provided protection for the gangs to operate freely. Meanwhile, many citizens whose livelihoods were directly affected by the triads were uncooperative with the police. Now, the story is much more complicated. It's no longer about common criminal activities, but about covert manipulation in the economy, politics, and even in many ordinary activities. The underworld is inherently complex and dangerous. Even the information we've gathered today is just a very small part of it.